What's going on, Dawg Pound? Welcome into a live Cleveland Browns report. Matthew Peterson here with a lot to talk about because minicamp just wrapped up. So our last look at the 2023 Browns until July 22nd, when they will report to Greenbrier Resort in West Virginia. Their training camp starts a week earlier than other teams because they are playing in the Hall of Fame game. So we go about 6-7 weeks without seeing the team, but once we see them, the 2023 season is here. It'll be training camp, then preseason, and then before you know it, week 1 against the Bengals at home for the regular season. Now, before we jump into the nuts and bolts of today's show, shout out your city. Let me know where you are tuning in from down in the comments section. I'll be giving shout outs to everyone who chimes in. So let's get the chat going. Let's invite more people from Browns fans out there to join our live show today. I've got Salem, Ohio coming in from Gregory H. We got Lee County Scratcher from Cape Coral, Florida. Rock Creek, Ohio. Cassie's tuning in from Dallas. Love to see it. Ryan's tuning in from Dayton. Cassie, Jack and I were quoting Modern Family for a solid 30 minutes today. Great show. Modern Family, always underrated. We got Jim tuning in from Akron, Ohio. Streetsboro from Zachary. Ryan saying 2023 about to be a movie. You are literally stealing the words out of my mouth from later on in today's show. You'll see it later on. Zach's in Upper Arlington. We got LA from Mac Predalis in the house. Coneo, Ohio. Locust, North Carolina. The Brown Tiger is here. What a week to be a Clemson and Browns fan with so much of the DeAndre Hopkins buzz. And oh yeah, this guy named Deshaun Watson, he's the real deal. So keep getting those cities down in the chat right now. Now, an off-the-wall question. It really doesn't have a lot of legs to it, but I figured we'd at least discuss it on the show for a couple of minutes. Do you think the Browns should sign Dalvin Cook, the former second-round pick out of Florida State? Played 6 years with the Vikings, had a big cap hit this year, and didn't look all that great last year, which you put those two together, it probably means you're going to be released, which is going to happen to Dalvin Cook. To me, it makes basically zero sense. But hey, if you disagree, that's fine. This is not a dictatorship of a show. I know I'm the one with the mic on, but I love to see what you guys have to say in the comment section. I'm going with no, and I'm glad that everyone, I think it's unanimous. I don't know if anyone has ever agreed on one thing ever, but to me, this might be the first time we have a unanimous decision right now. Yeah, no, I agree. Roll the money over or something. So I like it. Yeah, what was wrong with the poll? It wasn't working for a moment. Okay. Yeah, the poll was kind of weird. All right, moving on here. Josh is the only one saying yes. Josh, you're the only one on this island. Moving on. Next question here. Should the Browns sign DeAndre Hopkins? Now, this is a lot more intriguing, right? This one actually has some legs to it and carries some weight because it's DeAndre Hopkins. It's Deshaun Watson. They were prolific together in Houston. And most of all, Andrew Berry is trying to win the Super Bowl in 2023. Make no mistake, that is what the goal is. It is not to put together a good building off season, right? 2023 is not about taking a step in the right direction. 2023 is the best roster the Browns may have in a little bit of time because unfortunately, they are going to have to move on from some key players next season due to salary cap implications. So it is all in on this season. And if you think DeAndre Hopkins improves your chance of winning a Super Bowl in 2023, I can't really knock you for wanting to add him to this roster. But on the other side, man, the DPJ and Elijah Moore look incredible during minicamp. It's just 7-on-7s. It's flag football. That's not how football is played in the fall, but they were making every single catch. They were dragging their toes. They were putting up 6 points left and right. So to me, like I've said from the very get-go of adding DeAndre Hopkins, it's a win-win. If you get DeAndre Hopkins, no one should be upset. I think he's going to be a great wide receiver in 2023 wherever he signs, and he definitely helps Deshaun Watson get back to being that Pro Bowl level. If you don't sign DeAndre Hopkins, that's okay. You still have Amari Cooper, Elijah Moore, and DPJ to fall back on. You'll be okay. What do you guys think? I got some passes coming in. Nicholas is saying S for sign. David saying S for sign. Josh, let someone else deal with the headache that D-Hop can be. Is D-Hop a headache, though? Is he? Like, I don't know if he's really in that OBJ, he's punting, kicking nets type of headache, right? I don't think it's close. Neither does producer Jack Lauderay. So I don't see it that way exactly. Klein going with P for pass. Carlos says S for sign. Spencer going with a P for pass. Let me know what you guys' thoughts are here. By the way, we only have 22 likes on the video. This is rookie numbers. This is BS here. Come on. Don't insult me like that. Like today's video if you have not already. That way we can help the almighty YouTube algorithm out, and we can get more Browns fans to our live show every single week. We're not starting the show until we get to 40 likes. 50% of the people watching, minimum, 7 likes away. Now, we had an interesting debate at the office today. I don't know if you guys saw the video that went kind of viral of the kid jumping off the booze cruise in the Caribbean and unfortunately passing away. I mean, that's not a joke, but some people are speculating that he was eaten by a shark. What is the animal that you fear the most? Like, I am petrified of snakes. I can't do a snake thing. Like, Jack, feel free to unmute yourself, producer Lauderay. If a snake's in the room, I'm out of the room. It's that simple.
Yes. And growing up in Arizona, from my point of view, that was always a fear.
Like, I'm not the person that when the reptile lady comes to your birthday, I go, put the snake around my shoulder. Fuck no. I'm out.
Oh, no. Like when I would go to the zoo, and they'd be like, oh,
I don't even want to go see.
You can pet the snake. And I'm like, get away from me. I don't want that.
Snakes and old ladies. Those are my two bugaboos. Name that movie. I left out a little bit part of the last part. But sharks also scare the bejesus out of me. The videos of, like, you can swim with the nurse sharks.
Absolutely
and, like,
not.
you can push them around.
Absolutely not.
They are man-eating machines.
Absolutely
I understand
not.
We shouldn't overfish them and all that good stuff. But no, I am not messing around with snakes or sharks.
I don't understand, like, the adrenaline junkies, you know, like,
yeah.
No, I'm not getting in a cage
yeah.
with a bunch of sharks.
I could never go into a cage. That. Could never do that.
No.
I saw one time where the cage popped open, and that's good enough for me to never want to get in there. We got wasps. We got crocodiles. Dude, crocs are meat. Crocs you do not want to mess with. Dirk is saying he lives in Florida. Alligators and sharks. I'm not really afraid of alligators. I've never been golfing and had an alligator just chill kind of by the water. If that were to happen to me, I will probably, become a bit of a scaredy cat and drive the cart the other way. So
my whole thought process behind this, my answer is spider.
Spiders. See, I have no issue with spiders.
But let me explain.
Yeah.
Like, we talk about alligators, sharks, some of these other ones. I'm never going to put myself in a situation where a shark can get to me.
Yeah.
Or like an alligator can get to me. I'm never going to put myself in those situations.
Jack wears jeans to the beach. That's what I just heard right there. You wear socks in the water. You swim with shoes on, don't you?
You got me. You got me. No, but like a spider, a brown recluse, a black widow.
You know your spiders.
Like some of those deadly spiders, that terrifies me because you never know where they can get in anywhere. You never know where they can come from. So it's the element of surprise and it's the unknown that scares me the most. And that's why I'm going to go with spiders.
Okay, coming up on the show today, let's check out what's on tap. The latest news and rumors, primarily headlined by DeAndre Hopkins, some Nick Chubb buzz, an interesting segment on Chubb, and then some Dalvin Cook chatter. And then we're going to spend the middle of the show looking at some minicamp takeaways, notes, news, nuggets, all that good stuff from the Browns' 3-day mandatory minicamp session before they, set off for the summer and enjoy the next 6-7 weeks until they report to Greenbrier in West Virginia at the end of July. And then, as always, we wrap up the show with a mailbag. So get your questions in now, #Browns. If you want to skip the line and guarantee a spot on screen, you're more than welcome to Super Chat. Super Chats always go a long way to support the Browns reports here. By the way, we're almost at 20,000 subscribers. Let's reach that milestone before the month is up. So if you've not subscribed, this is my YouTube-friendly reminder to scroll on down, smash that sub button. Now, with that being said, let's jump into some actual football talk as the chat has now been dominated by Jack's fear of spiders and mine of snakes and sharks. So, just very bad for animals, I guess. It's a bad branding issue. If I was an animal, don't name me after the letter S. Pick a different letter. P's. There's no mean animal that starts with a P. Yeah, S is just... Petey's afraid of bulldogs. No, you can't be afraid of an animal that genetically cannot breathe on its own. Now, let's jump into a live Cleveland Browns report. What's going on, everyone? Welcome into a live Cleveland Browns report by Chat Sports. Matthew Peterson here, breaking down all the latest news and rumors on the Brownies. So let's not waste any time. Let's get right into it, starting with the first segment on today's show. Very loose. You can kind of word it however you want, but in and of itself, the end result is DeAndre Hopkins going to the Browns. I'm giving it 2 Bernie heads, right? Kind of right in the middle. At times, it felt like 3 Bernie heads. At times, it felt like 1 Bernie head. Now I'm going to leave it right at the 50-yard line with it could kind of go either way, but more so leaning towards that 1 Bernie head than the 3 Bernie heads. So Mary Kay has been all over the DeAndre Hopkins story, and she recently put out an article that we're going to take a look at later on where she adds some more color to the story. Now, the report is that Hopkins is looking for a 1-year, $15 million contract similar to what Odell Beckham Jr. got. So that's kind of a good jumping off point. Now, Deshaun Watson has not been shy when it's come to DeAndre Hopkins. Whether it was at the golf charity fundraiser last week or speaking to the media this week after minicamp practices, he has been very vocal that he would love to have DeAndre Hopkins. Now, he also knows his place, and he goes, those are better questions for Andrew Berry. But he is not hid away from these questions when it comes to D-Hop. He would love to have him up in Northeast Ohio. Now, the latest news on DeAndre Hopkins is that he is visiting the Tennessee Titans this upcoming weekend. Tom Pelissero reported that he's flying out to Nashville on Saturday. So as we record this video on Thursday during our live show, that is the latest on D-Hop. Now, I want you guys to read this quote with me from Mary Kay on Hopkins potentially coming to Cleveland. The Browns wrap up their 3-day minicamp on Thursday, but Hopkins could visit sometime over the next few weeks. If all goes well as Watson hopes, Hopkins could be a Brown by the time training camp opens July 22nd at the Greenbrier Resort in West Virginia. Here's the twist to that story. What we just read is no longer in her article. She actually removed it from her article, added a note at the bottom that said, this story has been updated to reflect the latest on DeAndre Hopkins. This is what she replaced that paragraph with. But the Browns are happy with their current receiving corps and aren't looking to add a big name, high-priced player such as Hopkins at this time. It's currently unlikely to happen, but he's also in the never say never category. We're going full windy here. Why did Mary Kay change her article? What happened? What did she hear from inside the walls at Berea at Cross Country Mortgage Campus? Why did she go 180 of Hopkins could be visiting anytime soon and be signing before July 22nd to, yeah, we're going to remove that. And actually, I'm going to double down and say it's probably not going to happen. It's a long shot, but never say never. So if I had to take a good stab at what change happened, because I believe Mary Kay is a good Browns reporter, she does not bat 1,000. No reporter does. She had some fair share of hits and misses. She was on Deshaun Watson and the Browns moving on from Baker last year. She was also really big on Jesse Bates and Javon Hargrave, 2 things that did not happen this year. I'm guessing she's got some good sources inside Berea, and they told her, maybe stop gaslighting DeAndre Hopkins so much to Cleveland and getting the fan base all riled up over this, because they're just going to be disappointed when we don't sign Hopkins because we like the receiving core we have right now. So let's stop giving them torches and pitchforks to bring to the campus when we don't sign him. Could you maybe downplay the whole DeAndre Hopkins thing? Because the secret is there is no signing coming unless something drastically changes for what he's looking for. So that's my best stab at it. It's a 180, as we just read, from what she originally put out there to what she pivoted to. So pretty interesting Big J rumors going on right now right there on that side of things. Now, you make the call, though. Do you think the Browns should sign DeAndre Hopkins? S for sign or P for pass? Chime in down in the comment section below if you think this is the right decision for Andrew Berry. My stance on all this has not really wavered all that much. I've long stated it's a win-win. Scroll back to previous DeAndre Hopkins videos and you'll see if you get D-Hop, awesome. If you don't get D-Hop, that's okay. You have Amari Cooper, Donovan Peoples-Jones, and Elijah Moore. But I think this week of minicamp has made you, myself, and I a very big believer in this wide receiver room without DeAndre Hopkins. Now, it's just 7-on-7s. It's flag football. It's pitch and catch. It's designed for the offense to get into a rhythm. It is not designed for the defense to do well since they cannot rush the quarterback in 7-on-7. So the DBs just have to hang on for dear life and try and go step for step with the wide receivers. But the receivers did not disappoint, right? There were not a bunch of errant throws. Watson was not on a different page than his receivers. He was linking up with Marquise Goodwin downfield. He was bringing out his signature Legolas celebration, the arrow firing off. So if they don't get D-Hop, I'm not going to be heartbroken over it. Moving on to our second story today. Should the Browns sign Dalvin Cook? Fake news. This is not going to happen. Dalvin Cook is going to be released. Depending on the time you're watching this, he has already officially been released. Tom Pelissero said that the Vikings plan to release him, and they kind of walked it back a little bit and said they're going to release him if they don't get a trade, which they've been trying to do for the last 3 months, but I guess they've finally just given up. So the reason why we're kind of tossing this out here is Zadarius Smith, who just came over from Minnesota, hit up Twitter with the eyeballs emoji, which is the number one thing for athletes to do to get people talking. And congratulations, it works, Zadarius. We are talking about it. But no, it does not make sense, really, for Dalvin Cook to come over to Cleveland, right? And we're going to expand on that more in just a second. But before we do, we're doing a sub battle with our Ravens channel, who they are so far behind we can't even really see them in our rearview mirror. I don't want to just have double the subs or, whatever 19-9 is. I want to go over 10,000 subs and then some. So let's race to the next 1,000 milestone. They're trying to get to 10,000 subs. We're trying to get to 20,000 subs. Let's beat them to it. It's a pretty even race right now. We've got a bit of a head start, but the Ravens fan base can always catch up. Let's not give them that opportunity. Subscribe right now for the best free Cleveland Browns YouTube content out there. So back to Dalvin Cook, though. Adam Schefter, and we'll look at his tweet in a moment, highlighted a couple of teams that could be in on Mr. Cook, and the Browns were not one of those teams, but he is expected to be released because of his enormous cap hit for a player that really regressed last season, and several teams have been rumored to be interested. Schefter identified 2 of those teams being the Miami Dolphins and the Denver Broncos. Now, Denver just signed Frank Clark, so I feel like they might be sort of out of spending, but no one has spent more money this offseason than the Walmart family at Mile High, so I guess you can never quite rule them out. Miami makes a ton of sense. Dalvin's from Florida. He wants to go back to Florida. He posted on IG an edit of him at Hard Rock Stadium, so if I was a betting man, I'd put my money down on the Dolphins, but sign Dalvin Cook to back up Nick Chubb? No, this is just not a good fit, right? We know the Browns have been rumored to be looking at an RB2. That's not a player like Dalvin Cook who is losing his step and is a similar type running back as Nick Chubb, except he's slower and not as good, right? I don't know what Dalvin Cook brings to this running back room that they don't already have in Nick Chubb, except just a worse version of it, and Chubb's awesome, right? When you look at Cook's stats over the last 4 seasons, look at the regression. 5.1 yards a pop in his 16-touchdown 2020 season, down to 4.7, and then down to 4.4. Despite getting 264 carries last year. Like, they gave him the rock a ton. That's why he got to 1,000 yards. He did not deserve to get that many carries based on how he was playing. Now, the football nerds out there cooked up this interesting stat called rushing yards over expected. Somehow they were able to identify how many yards a player should get on each play. I don't quite know how you do that, but they did. And Dalvin Cook got negative 0.16 yards based on what his expected yardage was each carry based on the blocking and the defense. So he was not even doing what he was mathematically, I guess, expected to do. This is a deep dive on football analytics I don't think I'll ever wrap my head around. But let me know, do you guys think that the Browns should sign Dalvin Cook? yes or no. I'm typing N for no. I don't think it's a good fit for Cleveland. They want to get a second RB, fine. Get a pass-catching running back. Get something that Nick Chubb really can't bring a ton to the table of. Don't get Dalvin Cook, no. Moving on to our third and final story. This one is just a feel-good story. Nick Chubb, is he the best? You're damn right he is. For Bernie heads, Nick Chubb is going to go down as a fan favorite, as one of the best Browns players of all times. Might not be statistically the best running back in Cleveland Browns history, but those are big shoes to fill with Jim Brown. And he was talked and asked about that while speaking to the media this week after minicamp. And he recently stated that he is dedicating the rest of his career to the late, great Jim Brown, which is just awesome to see for how much Jim Brown did for this community and this team, and for Nick Chubb honoring one of the greats in football history. We've got more on this story to look at in just a moment, but make sure you get the t-shirt combo on sale. I just checked. They still have all the sizes, and it's still on sale. 50% off. You're not getting one shirt. You're getting two shirts when you go to chatsports.com/CLE combo. Don't be surprised if you see me rocking one of these shirts later on in the month. Get yours today, chatsports.com/CLE combo. Links in the comments and the description of today's video. Now, this is what Nick Chubb said when he was asked about Jim Brown when speaking to the media. I'm definitely playing for him from here on out. What did he stood for? What he did stood for a long time. The yards, the stats, only in 9 years. So it's unbelievable what he was able to do in those just 9 years. It's crazy. Now, an incredible story that came out of Nick Chubb speaking to the media regarding Jim Brown was about John Dorsey, who was the GM that drafted Nick Chubb back in 2018. He sent Nick Chubb's college tape from UGA over to Jim Brown to get some feedback and get his thoughts on number 24. And Jim Brown, right off the bat, was a big advocate and believer for Nick Chubb. And when Nick Chubb found out about this, well, this is what he said. Joe Sheehan has been telling me that story since I got here. I never believed him until I got a text from Dorsey telling me it was true after Jim Brown passed away. Just hearing that, it was a blessing. He saw something in me, and it's special. Now, never forget that Jim Brown is the all-time team rushing leader, and I don't know how anyone's going to catch him. In 9 seasons, he put up 1,200 yards. That is bonkers to think about. And Nick Chubb has been awesome his entire career, and I still don't see a way he catches up to Jim Brown. Put your calculators away. I did the tough math for you guys here. Nick Chubb has 2 years left on his contract. He would have to average 175 yards per game over the next 2 years, 17 games each, not missing a game, to pass Jim Brown. That is how great Jim Brown was of a running back. And if Nick Chubb is this great and he's still this far off from Jim Brown, it's a good reminder that even though I did not get to see him with my own 2 eyes when he was playing for the Browns, he is one of the best in franchise history. So who's your favorite running back? This is more of a test to see which age of football you watched. If you're a bit older and you got to see Jim Brown play in his heyday, you're probably rolling with 32. 24 for Nick Chubb, 32 for Jim Brown. Sorry about the typo. But if you're my generation, and there it is, shout out to Jack Lauderay, it's 24 because this is the guy I've been watching for much of my career, much of my life. But let me know who your favorite running back is down in the comment section. Now, before we get on out of here, off-season mode, pick a card time. You guys know how we end all of our shows. We do a random card drawing. Jack Lauderay, our producer, which card are you going with?
Give me the 5 of hearts.
5 of hearts? Okay, I'm going to go with the 10 of clubs. One last cut. Get your predictions in the chat right now in the comments section. 10 of clubs for me. I think we had this one not long ago. 9 of spades. 9 of spades. All right, that's going to do it for us on today's show. We'll see everyone later. Favorite running back, who is it? Jim Brown or Nick Chubb? I don't think anyone got the 9 of spades. Yeah. It's not easy. You got a 1 in 52 chance to get it. I got it before we started filming yesterday, which is the ultimate Mickey Mouse championship, right? No one was here to see it, but I said it, and I got it right. and the cameras were not rolling, so it sucks. But don't worry, we got 2 more shows today on this live show, so we got 2 more drawings for our random card. Jim Brown or Nick Chubb. Now, we've not gotten a super chat yet today, so if you want to be the MVP of today's show and you want to go the extra mile to support the show, feel free to super chat. Click that little super chat icon down below and send whatever you're comfortable with our way, and we'll throw it on screen for everyone to see. We got 133 people watching right now, but just 53 likes. Can we get some more likes? Can we maintain a 50% like ratio? Let's get up to 60 likes before we start the next segment of today's show, which is, by the way, all about minicamp, really getting into the nitty-gritty from the 3-day minicamp session and some takeaways I've got and all that good stuff. So make sure to like the video before we jump into the next segment. We are 4 likes away, and then we are going to talk about Deshaun Watson and this offense, which is clicking, humming, rolling, and it's not going to be what people expect in 2023, and I, for one, cannot wait to see it. So we are at 61 likes. File that under things you like to see. Producer Jack, you ready to roll? As soon as I get the cards in my hand, all I want to do is just shuffle them all day long. Okay, let's jump into a live edition of the Cleveland Browns Report talking about minicamp takeaways and notes and news. Here we go. Welcome into the Cleveland Browns Report by Chat Sports. Minicamp in the books. The next time we get to see this team in live action will be in Greenbrier, West Virginia at the resort, where we get our first glimpse of the 2023 Cleveland Browns preseason and training camp. So with that being said, I've got some big picture takeaways coming out of minicamp, and I want to start with this, the first one. Major changes on offense. Yes, you can expect to see this. Deshaun Watson speaking to the media after minicamp. The phrase he kept going back to was, everything's new. Last offseason, the offense was catered to Jacoby Brissett because he would be the primary quarterback for 2022. That is different this year. It is all hands on deck getting the best out of Deshaun Watson. Now, this is what Watson had to say on the Browns offense. I would just say the foundation and the structure of the offense is the same, but as we build and continue to get ready for the season, everything else is new. I cannot wait to see what Kevin Stefasnki has been doing in his basement all offseason long, preparing for the 2023 season. Him and AVP, the offensive coordinator and the quarterback's coach, have catered this new offense to Deshaun Watson. So before your uninformed NFL friends that say, well, they had Watson last year in the preseason, why weren't they ready last year? Because now you can look back and go, once the Browns knew they had Jacoby Brissett for 11 games, they were going to do their best to hopefully maximize him and get as many wins out as they could, but they knew that the playoffs would be a long shot. This year, totally different ballgame. Look at the aggressive moves they have made. Zadarius Smith, Elijah Moore, they are doing everything possible to maximize Deshaun Watson without completely throwing caution to the wind and punting on 2024 and beyond. The Browns offense, or the Browns as a whole, averaged 16.8 points per game with Watson at QB last year, and that's including the Houston game with the defense and special teams doing a bulk of the scoring. If you just look at the offense, it's much closer to 12 to 13 points. Those numbers will skyrocket in 2023. Mark my words. So if you are a believer in the Browns offseason moves so far, and you are a believer in what they are going to do and accomplish in 2023, show me that by liking the video. Our videos lately have been popping off a little bit in the likes column. We've never gotten to 1,000 likes on a video. What a great video to get 1,000 likes to, because of all the belief the Dawg Pound has in Kevin Stefasnki and the Browns in 2023. Our second takeaway, though, is all on the offense still, and Deshaun Watson. He's 11 out of 10. He's above a perfect score. He has been all that's been advertised and more so far in the offseason and minicamp. Watson, I don't know how to put it in number senses because you can't do that in minicamp and OTAs, but he's passed the vibe check. I know that sounds surface level and cliche, but he has looked much more comfortable this offseason. The highlights, they're not few and far between. There's not one or two David Bell touchdowns, okay? He is consistently connecting with DPJ, Amari Cooper, and Elijah Moore for touchdowns time after time after time. And yes, OTAs and minicamp are designed for the offense to be successful. But if they're designed to be successful, you want them to be successful, and they are. This is what Watson had to say on going into year 2 with the Browns. I'm pretty far ahead of where I was last year. Last year, as far as football being on the field, just running a new system, trying to adapt to different teammates, different players, how guys run routes, how Kevin calls the plays, and just being able to process the game at the speed I know. Being a year in and being able to talk to Kevin and AVP about what we want to do and being confident about it, it allows me to play a little bit faster when I'm on the field. The rest of the league, by all means, sleep on the Browns. Don't put them in prime time. Disregard them. Just look at Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson in the AFC North and the Pittsburgh Steelers. But the Browns' 2023 season will be a movie. This is not a Michael Scott, I am prepared to get hurt again speech. This is a, I am that confident in this team. I have no reservations. They are going to be successful in 2023. Deshaun Watson's going to be an elite quarterback. This defense is going to be a 180 of what it was last year, and this is going to go down as the best Browns season since 1999. That's how confident I am in this team. And it's not just me who feels this way. David Njoku had this to say on Deshaun Watson. He's locked in. The energy is there. So far, I think every single ball he's thrown was precise on the money. So it excites me as well as the rest of the team, the offense. We're all excited. He looks really good. He's been very accurate the past 2 days. Very impressive. Now, our Steelers talk host here at Chat Sports, Jack Sperry, he's taking Kenny Pickett over Deshaun Watson. This is an opportunity to dunk and clown on Steelers fans because when Kenny Pickett does not improve in year 2 and the Steelers are at the cellar of the AFC North, I'll be here for the receipts. I'll be here for all the mentions on Twitter. I'll be here to clown and laugh at the Steelers. So get your DWs down in the comment section. Type in number 4 if you'd like for which quarterback you would rather have. Our third takeaway from minicamp, the wide receivers, chef's kiss. They have been looking great. They have not given Andrew Berry a reason to pick up the phone and call DeAndre Hopkins' agent. So far, this group has been more than advertised. Amari Cooper got core muscle surgery back in February. A complete 180 of where he was at the end of last season. Donovan Peoples-Jones and Elijah Moore, they are competing to be 1,000-yard receivers, and whoever loses that race will probably be an 800-yard receiver. I mean, just the way they've looked so far, I know there's only so much of a football that can go around, but they have all been super impressive. There have been no hiccups, no tweets coming out from beat reporters going, yikes, it's only June, but the Browns' offense was super sloppy today. No, it has been 10 out of 10. Now, I really want to zero in on 3 of these guys, starting with Amari Cooper. Last year, when Jacoby Brissett was his quarterback, and he coincidentally was healthy all 12 of those weeks, 792 yards in 11 games and 7 touchdowns. But then from that Houston Texans game and on, when he was dealing with that core muscle injury, you can see the drop-off. Sure, he played fewer games, but still. You can prorate it. It is a big drop-off. And so with a healthy Amari Cooper pairing up with Deshaun Watson, that changes this offense. That gives you reason to believe that the Watson 6-game stretch last year where he was not very, great, let's be honest, you can put that behind you and just burn that tape on film and move on from it. Because Amari Cooper, he's an elite wide receiver. He can be a top 10 wide receiver in the NFL. And that with Deshaun Watson, who can be a top 10 quarterback, no questions asked, that's just extra gravy when you factor in Elijah Moore and Donovan Peoples-Jones, and I haven't even gotten to Nick Chubb, David Njoku, and this top 5 offensive line. This roster is loaded. The fact that the rest of the NFL is not waking up to it, fine, let them sleep. But you know who will not be sleeping in week 1? The Cleveland Browns. Elijah Moore has looked as advertised. Excuse me, I am losing my voice from this Herb Brooks speech right now. Has looked as advertised so far. During minicamp, he was awesome with the toe taps, the short yardage situations, the speed element this offense desperately needed last year. Donovan Peoples-Jones, 839 yards a season ago, 3 touchdowns. I think Elijah Moore is more likely to be a 1,000-yard receiver because of that speed element and how he can complement Amari Cooper. But don't be shocked if DPJ gives all of us a big middle finger for talking about DeAndre Hopkins and goes, you want D-Hop? How about me for the next 4 seasons? I can be this team's wide receiver 1 once Amari Cooper moves on. So who do you think the leading wide receiver will be for this team in 2023? Amari Cooper, Elijah Moore, or Donovan Peoples-Jones? Honestly, you can make solid arguments for all 3. Yes, Cooper is the leader in the clubhouse, and I think he's going to be this team's leading wide receiver. But what happens if Moore or DPJ have a true breakout season and they finish just a hair above Amari Cooper? Would anyone really be all that surprised? I wouldn't. I mean, you got 3 receivers here. I think 2 of them have a very good shot of being 1,000-yard receivers in 2023. The one breakdown, the one little slow your horses down a little bit will be, it is just June. And I'm more so putting this in the show for me to lower my heart rate because I get super amped up thinking about this team in 2023. It's June. There's no pass rush in 7-on-7s. There's no sacking the quarterback until week 1 when the Bengals defensive line lines up against the Browns. But the highlights and clips are football porn. And producer Jack blocked out the word porn because he did not want to see YouTube flag us. But I'll say it loud and clear. It is YouTubeporn.com. That is how, footballporn.com. That is how, don't go to the other one.com. That is going to bring up some very nasty images. But it is going to be awesome to see in 2023 a Browns offense that is going to be one of the best in the National Football League. Now, speaking of the best, our sportsbook partner, BetUS, has the best promo code out there for everyone. Go to chatsports.com/bet. Use promo code Browns125. When you do that, you're going to get a 125% deposit bonus. So whether it's the NBA Finals, Mexican Soccer League, the MLS, I guess that's in season. I didn't know the MLS season until Messi announced his transfer. That's my MLS knowledge, and that's us talking soccer for this episode. So make sure you're making all of your picks over at chatsports.com/bet. Promo code Browns125. Moving on to my 4th takeaway from Minicamp, the revamped defensive line. We got our first real taste, our first real look at it, and it is special, right? When you look at the defensive line depth chart, you have Myles Garrett, Dalvin Tomlinson, Zadarius Smith, and then you got Jordan Elliott just happy to be in the group. I will tell you guys right now, when week 1 rolls around, you're going to see a lot more of Garrett, Tomlinson, Smith, and Okoronkwo all on the field at the same time, rather than a rotation of Elliott, Winfrey, and Ika, right? Maybe for 1st and 10, when you know the team's going to run it from their own 20-yard line, that's where you see some more of the run-stopping DTs on the field. But after that, it is Jim Schwartz pinning their ears back and letting these guys up front feast. Dalvin Tomlinson spoke to the media, and here's what he said on the defensive line for Cleveland. I already know what Zadarius can do on the middle, and just watching Obo and Myles on film and playing against them over the years, and with all of us together and bringing all our skill sets together, I feel like it's going to, and then he paused and smiled and finished it with, I don't know. I don't know how to put it into words. It's going to be amazing. And yes, it will be amazing, right? You have 2 double-digit sack players from last season on the same roster. And if Zadarius Smith isn't out with a knee injury more or less the second half of the season where he played through it but was not a contributing factor, you could have 2 16 – I mean, that's probably a stretch, but 2 12-plus sack players in Myles Garrett and Zadarius Smith. And we're not even factoring in Obo with a casual 5 sacks as he continues to improve year in and year out. And Dalvin Tomlinson, whose job is to stop the run, but he'll still chime in for 2 or 3 sacks here, which last year was good enough to be this team's 2nd sack leader with Taven Bryant. This year, that's 4th or 5th on the list if all goes well. And also, don't forget about this guy, Jim Schwartz. We spent so much time last year begging for Jim Woods to get run out of town. We were successful, and he was replaced by the best option. Him and Brian Flores were 1A and 1B. So do not forget about Jim Schwartz also being added to the staff in this roster because he is going to maximize all the talent on this defense. We've spent so much time and energy talking about Zadarius Smith and Dalvin Tomlinson. Those are great moves. You know what's also a sneaky good move? Getting Jim Schwartz, a Super Bowl winning defensive coordinator, on this staff. So let me know who you think the second best player on this defense will be after Myles Garrett. Denzel Ward, Zadarius Smith, have your pick of the litter. Let me know in the comment section who you think the second best player is after MG. Fifth and final takeaway from minicamp. Let's talk about Perrion Winfrey. Just the latest on whatever his number is right now. I can't remember it. The news on Perrion Winfrey, because Mary Kay tweeted out, Browns defensive tackle 97. Perrion Winfrey is on the field for day 3 of minicamp today after working inside the past 2 days. No one is exactly sure why he was working inside, if it was injury related, if it was in relation to the armed robbery that him and Greg Newsome went through, and just emotionally, he was not ready to go on the field. I've never been through an armed robbery, thankfully, so I have no idea what that is like, or if it was something completely unrelated to that. No one knows. But there is a story to be had here that Perrion Winfrey was working inside the first 2 days, not with the defensive line outside, and I don't even know what working inside is. When I was a summer camp counselor after freshman year of college, working inside meant you got to watch a movie because your kid was throwing dodgeballs even though he was out. So, not quite sure. Perrion Winfrey, though, I'll say this much, could be an X factor in 2023. If you can get Winfrey to be what we all hoped and dreamed he would be when they selected him 2 years ago in the draft, or a year ago, however you want to count it, I mean, think about the rotation you're going to get there, right? Blast Jordan Elliott to the sun. Siaka Ika and Perrion Winfrey as this team's rotation on the inside with Dalvin Tomlinson as not 100% snap count. No defensive tackle is, but 65 to 70-ish. And those 3 guys get a good rotation going. That could really put this defensive line over the edge if opposing offensive lines had to spend so much time focusing on Smith and Garrett on the outside. They don't have the resources to deal with Winfrey's pass rush abilities and Ika stopping the run and Tomlinson doing a little bit of both. Before we get on out of here, off-season mode, pick a card time. Let me know which card you are going with for our random card drawing. It is card drawing like 17 or 18 at this point, somewhere in that range. I've yet to get it right. Producer Jack Lauderay, what card are you going with?
Give me the 2 of clubs.
2 of clubs, I like it. I'm going to go with the King of Diamonds. Let's cut. Oh my gosh. Back-to-back 9 of spades. It's not scripted. I just shuffled it in front of the whole camera. Back-to-back 9 of spades. 9 of spades. Back-to-back 9 of spades. Sam Brown just threw the door open because he picked 9 of spades 2 times ago. All right, that's it for today's show. Thank you all so much for tuning in. We're going to sign off, and we'll catch up with everyone later. Pick a quarterback, Deshaun Watson or Kenny Pickett. I'm going with number 4 over number 8 in any day that ends in a Y, and I expect everyone to be spamming DW down in the comment section. It was actually 9 of spades. 2 straight videos, 9 of spades. This is kind of like when you go to the roulette wheel at Vegas and you look at the last number and you go, well, it's not going to be that number. And then it is that, like, if you get double zeros, leave the casino. That is witchcraft from that casino. Oh, I never bet the 0. If you win on the 0, everyone gives you dirty glances. No, can't. Yeah, I know, believe me. I spent a lot of time there. We have some super chats to catch up on. I can't believe that, though. We got a mailbag coming up next, though, so get those questions in. Producer Jack telling me we need more questions. Hashtag Browns. Or you can super chat. For all of you that did super chat, we'll throw those on screen during our mailbag for everyone to see. Skip the line, and we can throw those super chats on to start the mailbag. Let's throw them on right now, though. So I saw a $10 super chat coming from my guy Herman Turrington. 32 all day for Jim Brown. Shout out to you, Herman. Thank you so much for the super chat. Yeah, I think when it comes to the Jim Brown versus Nick Chubb debate, 1, not really a debate. It's hard to make any argument for Nick Chubb, but 2, it's just about what generation you were born into, right? Did you get to watch Jim Brown or did you get to watch Nick Chubb? I'm a recency bias guy, so I go with 24, but you can't go wrong either way. Herman, thank you so much for the super chat. Scorpion, what's going on? Hey, finally made one of these things. Scorpion, you used to be a mainstay back in the season, But I know the offseason can get busy. We're happy to have you back. Thank you so much for the super chat. You're a real one. Really appreciate all the support you give us here at the channel. Mac Predalis, what's going on, my guy? Love how they have been putting more in the backfield. Great point. I should have mentioned that in the video. They are getting creative with his speed. He's not going to be a gadget player, but they're going to maximize talent on the field. So if that means they have Watson in the pistol or in the shotgun, more in the backfield, and you can get Cooper, DPJ, Njoku, and Tillman all on the field at the same time, that's talk about maximizing your potential, getting all the speed possible on at once. Marquise Goodwin, too. Mac, I'm with you. I love it. I love it. Soul Train, you're next. How much will special teams improve? I mean, I just kind of gave a speech about adding Jim Schwartz. Bubba Ventrone, also a huge addition. The Colts special teams units the last couple of years under Ventrone's watch have been some of the best in the NFL. So last year, special teams wasn't bad. Like, they were way worse in the NFL, but you never got a spark from it. And unfortunately, like, it started with Jakeem Grant popping his Achilles in August, and they never recovered from that. They went through a cycle of kick returners and punt returners. They were never able to get that down, and Cade York never got comfortable. And those two were the kiss of death when Bubba Ventrone came available, and Kevin Stefasnki decided to make a clear and obvious upgrade. Scorpion, the Amari Cooper of the Browns Report, thank you so much for your super chat. We've got Soul Train here, the Alex Mack of the channel. I know you're looking to go see a comedian. You got to go see Shane Gillis. Shane Gillis, he's my number one guy right now. Him and Tommy Seg's all-time two favorite comedians. Thank you guys so much for your super chats and all the support you've shown us here at the Cleveland Browns Report. Next up, though, it is time for a mailbag. I see Lil Beam, who's always here getting his questions in. Let's get some other questions going in the comment section right now, whether it's related to minicamp, anything under the sun. By all means, feel free to ask it, and we'll throw it on screen. If you want to guarantee your question on screen, super chat like the previous people did, and we'll include that during our mailbag as well. Mr. Lauderay, are we good on questions? Okay, so we're getting the green light. Get those questions in, hashtag Browns, and we are ready to go. Jack, 3, 2, 1, let's get a liftoff in. Mailbag time here on the Cleveland Browns Report. I've got questions from our live show to answer. So tune in next Thursday, 5 o'clock Eastern Time, 4 o'clock Central, if you have a question you'd like to ask, and we'll include that in our show next week. Let's get things started with this from Herman Turrington, 32 all day, talking about Nick Chubb honoring Jim Brown for the rest of his career. Herman, I agree. It's a great sight to see. Scorpion, next up on the show, finally tuning into a live Browns Report. This is your reminder to tune into a future live Browns Report. Now, our first real hard-hitting question coming in from Mac Predalis, more of a thought, if you will, but we'll put a question mark on the end. Love how they have been putting Elijah Moore in the backfield? Yes, I love it too. This is a great move by the Browns, just for special circumstances. But if you want to maximize speed on the field and you want to get Moore and Marquise Goodwin on at the same time and not have to take off Amari Cooper or DPJ, you can go Amari Cooper on the left side, Elijah Moore in the backfield, Donovan Peoples-Jones in the slot, and Marquise Goodwin on the other boundary. And that is getting all the speed and talent on the field at once for an obvious passing situation. Kevin Stefasnki has talked about revamping and basically 180ing this offense this offseason. This is what we're seeing out of it. It's great to see. Soul Train, what's going on? How much will special teams improve? So much. I mean, that is a lazy answer, but yes, like Jim Schwartz has been an unsung hero for offseason moves that Browns have made because so much of the energy goes into players' acquisition. But special teams last year, Jakeem Grant going down was the kiss of death. The issue is that didn't happen in October. That happened in August. The Browns had all of the entire rest of the training camp and into the season to figure out their return man specialties or duties and whatnot. They couldn't figure it out. Could not get it down. So you parlay that with Cade York just not doing a good job after week one for the most part and missing a lot of clutch kicks and not being good at home compared to what he was on the road. Yeah, Bubba Ventrone is a huge upgrade for the Browns. It is a big improvement, and more importantly, it's a spark, it's a catalyst that you had twice last. I think I can count 3 good special teams moments. Blocking Justin Tucker's kick, DPJ's punt return against the Texans, and Jerome Ford had like a 50-yard kick return once. Unless I'm forgetting another great special teams moment, special teams was largely ineffective and not helpful for this team. Scorpion was next up on the channel. What's going on? Got to make up for some time. How about we ask favorite video game franchise? Little off topic. Let's end the show with this one. I like that one, Scorpion. Appreciate your question, though. All right, we got some more Browns questions to get to coming from Bobby James. Any free agents the Browns may sign following minicamp not named DeAndre Hopkins? Well, we are filming today's show during our live show, which was on Thursday, so hopefully Leonard Fournette has not been signed by the time you're watching this. But what about playoff Lenny? Last year, he was a part of the worst rushing game in football with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 698 yards. Receiving-wise, 523. That is the number I'm more interested in because I'm not looking for a running back who can complement Nick Chubb between the tackles. Nick Chubb does all that very fine by himself. We need a third down back. And playoff Lenny, he could be that guy, right? I think Leonard Fournette would be an interesting fit for the Browns and someone that maybe Cleveland takes a look at if Jerome Ford is not looking like they would hope him to be looking like for an RB2. If he comes out a bit slow in training camp and whatnot, but I have not seen any bad Jerome Ford press out there. But Leonard Fournette would be my one name to maybe keep an eye on that we haven't talked about a ton, so kind of a curveball, if you will. But you guys let me know if you think the Browns should sign a running back. Yes or no. I'm more content with Jerome Ford than most people are. I don't mind seeing what Ford and Chubb can do. I'm not rushing to sign one of these older running backs who Zeke, Kareem Hunt, Leonard Fournette all kind of took a step back last year. But if you disagree, that's perfectly fine. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section. Gregory H., what's going on, dude? Do you believe it's make or break for Stefasnki? He's got to make the playoffs or he's done. Unless, I don't even want to put this out in the world, but unless a certain someone or two were to have a major injury, yes. That is the only path. Like, if the Browns miss the playoffs and everyone's healthy the whole season, Stefanski's done. Like, Haslam has spent too much money. No one has spent more money than the Browns the last 3-4 years. So, he wants a return on his investment. And if Stefanski cannot deliver, there will be a changing of the guard. They might have to win a playoff game, honestly. If the Browns were the 7th seed, squeak in, and get blown out in the first round, they might fire Stefanski. Like, that's how high the expectations are this year. Ryan Chowdhury, I'm counting on Miles to win Defensive Player of the Year, but if he gets extra blocks and chips, do you think Za'Darius will have more sacks than Miles? Go Browns. Good question. I don't think there's a world where Za'Darius Smith out-sacks Myles Garrett on the same team. Myles Garrett has always dealt with a ton of holes that do not get called and a lot of other unfavorable matchups because he doesn't have a true partner in crime opposite of him. But now with Za'Darius Smith, what does that mean? It means a fullback or a running back can't go out to the flat for a passing play, right? Or a tight end has to hold on a little bit longer. So everyone's jobs in the back or in the secondary gets a little bit easier. And with the chips and blocks, yeah, I mean, you got to throw everything you've got at Myles Garrett, but you also have to balance in Za'Darius Smith. So like you point out, I guess, no. Myles Garrett's just too good. I mean, I see the train of thought of if everyone's allocating all their resources to the Western Front and taking care of Myles Garrett, does that mean it'll be easier for Za'Darius Smith? Sure, but Myles Garrett's just way too good. He's Superman. No one on his team will ever have more sacks than him. Make sure to follow along, by the way, for more Cleveland Browns analysis and future mailbags as we close in on 20,000 subscribers. So good to see. Make sure to follow along and subscribe for free Browns content all off season long. Joshua Miller, will Chubb be cut or will the Browns rework the contract so he can stay? I'm not even going to look it up because I've almost memorized the numbers at this point. Nick Chubb has 2 years left on his contract, including this season. If the Browns were to move on from him after next season, pre or post June 1st, $12 million in cap savings, $4 million in dead cap hit. The only way I see Nick Chubb guaranteeing himself returning is if he's a top 5 rusher, or more importantly, his average doesn't go down. Dalvin Cook was a 1,000-yard rusher last year, 1,100 yards. So it's not about being a 1,000-yard rusher. It's about living up to the contract. And if you average 4.4 yards a carry, or God forbid, under 4 yards a carry, yeah, the Browns are going to probably move on from him if there's $12 million in cap savings to be had, if he takes a Dalvin Cook type regression this year. But I think Nick Chubb is way better than Dalvin Cook, so I'm not forecasting a similar downfall. But Nick Chubb has never gone below 5 yards a carry. If he does this year, and there's $12 million in savings to be had, and the Browns are negative $84 million in cap space, they'll take a good hard look at all their options. Scorpion, what's going on, dude? How confident are you with the Browns out of 10? I'm guessing you mean 10 personnel. That's 1 running back, 0 tight ends. Very confident. The Browns wide receiver room is loaded, right? Like, just kind of envision for a second an injury were to happen, because the offseason is all about just talking about the 22 starters and forgetting about inevitable injuries that do pop up. But if you have Cedric Tillman coming off the bench, someone I'm super high on coming out of the draft, yeah, the Browns have no shortage of wide receivers. David Bell, for crying out loud, is going to be buried on this depth chart. He was a 3rd-round pick last year. We've all just sort of crossed him off the list because of Cedric Tillman, Elijah Moore, and Marquise Goodwin coming over. The Browns are so deep at wide receiver, they've got players for days. So I'm very confident in this room coming out of a 10 personnel package, if that's what you're talking about, Scorpion. Before we get on to the rest of today's mailbag, our sportsbook partner, BetUS, has the best deal for the Dawg Pound. Make sure to pay them a visit, chatsports.com/bet. Promo code Browns125. You get a 125% deposit bonus. So let's say you put $100 in. They'll match that $100 and give you an additional $25. There's no other sportsbook out there that's doing this type of deal. So don't miss out. Get it today before the season rolls around and be ready to rock and roll with BetUS. Ricky Logano's. Joey's Logano's brother? Any players you could see the Browns trading away? Good question. I'm not a fan of this idea. I want to preface with that, but I see the idea behind it. What about Harrison Bryant? He has played well enough through the first 3 years of his career to hit some bonus levels and some extra guaranteed money and higher base salary, but not guaranteed money. So with Jordan Akins being signed, when you look at the Browns tight end room, does Cleveland want to pay Harrison Bryant to be a handsomely well-paid tight end 3, or would they rather pay Zaire Mitchell-Payton like more than 50% less for probably a similar workload that Bryant's going to be getting? So if they sniff out a team out there that's looking for a tight end because an injury occurs during the preseason, Harrison Bryant could be a guy that gets moved. Not a fan of it because I like Harrison Bryant, but that could be a potential trade candidate for Cleveland. Now, speaking of Harrison Bryant, I think he's going to go down as an all-time name a random Browns player. So let me know who your random Browns player is. Kimberly Hurst has been begging to bring this segment back. We did back in like January and February. Harrison Bryant's a great one. Andrew Hawkins is another great one. Give me your random Browns player down in the comment section. Lil Beam, you're up next. Don't get me wrong, Hopkins is a great receiver. We went pretty far without DeAndre Hopkins question, so proud of us. But I would prefer DPJ. He is younger and still really good, but here's the thing with Donovan Peoples-Jones. This is my 60-second elevator speech. If the Browns have already made up their mind that they're going to move on from DPJ after this contract season because of one of two reasons. One, he plays super well and the Browns can't afford him. Or two, he doesn't play all that well and the Browns don't want to give him some money in free agency and they've got Tillman and Bell on rookie contracts for way less. Then yeah, I can see the idea in bringing in DeAndre Hopkins and moving on from DPJ a couple months before you plan on doing so already. But if the Browns do see a future for DPJ, where if he's a 1,000-yard receiver this year and they want to hold on to him and they decide to move on from Amari Cooper and his $23 million cap hit in 2024, well, then all of a sudden DeAndre Hopkins might not be super attractive and DPJ could be in the wings to be this team's wide receiver 1 and take over from Amari Cooper if he builds off an 839-yard season he had last year. So that's my 2 cents on DPJ. Maybe not being as dead as some of us think he is with the Browns long term. Cool guy called Zone. What's going on? Will you host preseason games? Great question. The Browns have 4 preseason games, and I plan on doing 4 watch parties for every single one. So if you subscribe to our channel after the season was over, you have no idea what I'm talking about. Set a reminder for Browns Jets, whatever Thursday that is in August for the first preseason game, Hall of Fame game. It's going to be a lot of fun. Make sure to tune in for future watch parties if you have not before. Great time guaranteed. Scorpion, next up on the show. Last question. Got to make up for some time. How about we ask favorite video game franchise? I'm not a huge video gamer. I love FIFA. I think Madden is just cheeks at this point. I watched their hype trailer for 2023 or Madden 2023 or whatever. It had the wrong jerseys for the Cardinals. Cardinals got new jerseys. They forgot to include that in the game. So this has just become a Madden slander at this point. But FIFA, that was my shit in college. I loved playing FIFA. Then I stopped playing FIFA, and then I stopped remembering who was on what EPL team. Random card time. Let's wrap up the show with it. We had back-to-back 9 of spades the last 2 weeks. You guys can see I shuffled the cards.
Can't be again.
If I wanted to rig the game, I would have picked 9 of spades twice. Jack, you want to give us your random card?
Give me 9 of hearts.
9 of hearts? Okay, I like it. Just next door. Give me the 3 of diamonds. 4 of diamonds. 1 off. Is it 1 off if it's a different number but the same suit? Can you be 1 off in 2 ways? Okay. You see what I'm saying? Does it have to be the same number or the same suit? Oh, obviously the same number. So 3 of diamonds and 4 of diamonds is 1 off, or is 3 of diamonds and 3 of hearts 1 off? Oh, I think 3 of diamonds and 3 of hearts is 1 off. But they're both right. They're both right. That's it for today's mailbag. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure to tune in for future shows here at the Cleveland Browns Report so you never miss a thing for your favorite team. Did anyone get it right? Oh, what happened? Oh, did Harrison Bryant just have some news? Uh-oh. This is interesting. Okay. Joshua Miller, we had some super chats fly in. Did I miss Harrison Bryant contract? Harrison Bryant has been extended. Did something happen while I was live? Okay. Well, we'll look at this later on. When was it published? Oh my God, 13 minutes ago? You got to be shitting me. Okay. Greasy Flight's here. That's our friend north of the border, Greasy Flight. We had some super chats. The Brown Tiger, what's going on, dude? After the last video you made, I'm taking your Browns fan court, and the words of the show Seinfeld, no soup for you. Did I also, speaking of no soup for you, the no soup for you guy goes to a bunch of minor league games, and he's like a celebrity at single A baseball. I don't know what exactly I said, Brown Tiger, to offend you, but I mean, I can't completely vouch for. No, he's a Joe Hayden, I believe. Yeah, no, he changed photos. I can't always be the biggest Clemson to Browns fan supporter out there. I gotta look at it for what's best for the team, and not just always with the Clemson lens on. So I'm not pulling my Browns fan card. What are you talking about? All I've been doing is just verbally jerking off this team for 3 months. I did a hype train video yesterday, Brown Tiger. What am I missing here? But the Joe Hayden of the channel, if DeAndre Hopkins comes to the Browns, you will become the DeAndre Hopkins of this channel. That much I can guarantee, Brown Tiger. Joshua Miller next up. Offense, defense, or special teams most improved? Good question, Joshua Miller. Joshua Miller, I'm going to answer with defense. What am I thinking here? I was about to actually sit down and really think this through for a minute. You added Juan Thornhill, Zadarius Smith, Dalvin Tomlinson. You brought back all of your linebackers, and maybe best of all, Jim Schwartz. You can make a very compelling argument that Jim Schwartz was the best addition for this defense this entire offseason. So for me, it's a no-brainer. The defense, the offense improved. They added some speed that was very much needed. Special teams is still looking for a returner. If Jakeem Grant can bounce back from that Achilles injury, he's in line to be this team's return specialist. But if not, we're kind of back to where we started last year. So that'll be interesting to see how Bubba Ventrone works those things out. Josh, the Phil Dawson of the channel, thank you so much for always supporting us here at the Browns Report. Your super chats go a long way, dude. We got Greasy Flight in the house. He was extended 1 year. Soul Train, someone I trust. Did he really get extended in the last 20 minutes while I was filming this video? If so, this will be the third time during a video news broke about the subject I was talking about. I don't know if you guys know this, a little behind the scenes information on the Browns Report. When the Deshaun Watson trade was executed, I was filming a Browns video about 5 quarterback options, and I was talking about Marcus Mariota, and I stopped myself mid-sentence trying to talk myself into it, and I audibly went, I can't even lie to you guys. This would suck. And then the door flew open, and producer Coop was like, Heedy, they traded for DeAndre Hopkins. Unfortunately, we stopped recording, and my reaction was missed, and that's going to be one of my biggest regrets. Brown Tiger, what's going on? Oh, no, I'm talking about you stating the NHL team's most improved. Give you a hint. Wait a minute. My Browns fandom gets pulled because I slandered your Boston Bruins? Is that the connection we're making, or am I missing something still? Because I don't know how my Browns fandom can be tied to talking about NHL teams in the South on the rise. The South will rise again, but this time in hockey. That has nothing to do with the Cleveland Browns football team, other than it goes to show fan bases that are not used to success are experiencing success right now across all professional sports. Bryant did not get extended. Okay. Have you unmuted yourself? Yeah. Share with the class.
Okay. From what I'm reading, and I also want to clarify as well, this hasn't been tweeted by any of the big names.
I'm looking at my Browns tweet deck right now.
I'm looking and I don't see anything. That's why I kind of didn't know if it was real or not. He hasn't been extended. So he already had his contract for this year, but they restructured the money.
I see. So Brad Stainbrook said, source, the Browns and tight end Harrison Bryant have agreed to terms on a new contract. It's a 1-year deal, $1.75 million guaranteed. It is worth up to $4 million. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, well, that definitely changes what I was saying. So, oh well. But that's the news. We got Harrison Bryant for this season, it looks like. He looked good in 7-on-7s and OTAs because they guaranteed $1.75 million. You don't guarantee someone $1.75 million and then cut them, right? The only thing with the trade is if the contract's not guaranteed, then teams will wait for you to cut them. But because the money's guaranteed, teams know that you won't cut them, and then they have to trade for them. So it doesn't quite rule out a trade, but it definitely reduces the probability of it. We got another Super Chat flying in here. We're at $52 in Super Chats. Thank you guys so much for going the extra mile to help support the show, as I like to say. If you have not subscribed, we got 93 people watching here. Joshua Miller, 3D lineman with 10 or more sacks. 3D lineman with 10 or more sacks? No. That's too many. Right. Last year, there were only 12 players in the NFL who had 10 or more sacks. For 3 out of those 12, if there's, let's say, 15 this year, because the season prior was, I think, 17. Let's say there's 15 guys who have 10-plus sacks, double-digit sack players. We want 3 out of those 15 to be for the Browns. That's just way too big of a percentage. The Eagles kind of did that last year, right, with Javon Hargrave and everyone else getting a ton of sacks, but I don't think the Browns are going to be at that level in the first year with Jim Schwartz. Brown Tiger, this is a Browns channel, not NHL/NBA. Brown Tiger, we're getting worked up, dude. The only point I was trying to make was Browns fans always believe, and for good reason, that they cannot be successful because the football gods are punishing them. And they have a lot of reason to believe that. So did a lot of the fans of the Denver Nuggets and the Memphis Grizzlies and the Sacramento Kings. And all those teams experienced a lot of success. You have two teams playing in the Stanley Cup Finals. Neither team has ever won a Stanley Cup. So the only point I'm trying to make is if you believe the Browns can't be good because they're the Browns, well, tell that to the Kings and tell that to the Panthers because they were pretty good this past season. Peter R., we played this ultimate game of chicken. My plane just landed in Vegas. Did we burn the hat? We did not burn the hat. Don't have the hat with me today. I had to go to the dentist this morning. This is a whole another story. I had not gone to the dentist in probably 3 years. Was supposed to get my wisdom teeth out. As you all know, I did get my wisdom teeth out. Got my wisdom teeth taken out, and then I went back to the dentist, and they're like, so now it's time to actually fix the rest of your teeth because you haven't been to the dentist in 3 or 4 years. So I was up for a 7:30 a.m. dentist appointment today, ran out the door, and completely forgot to grab it from my island. So I'm sorry, Peter. I hope we can still postpone this as this has been the most ongoing saga, but we will get it done. Fear not, Peter. This is not being pushed under the rug. I was at the dentist this morning at 7:30, and I walked to the car and completely forgot to grab it this Thursday. But, Peter, you're an MVP. Thank you so much, my man. Soul Train, will a roster cut player join and make an impact? That is a good question. Last year, the Browns added Kellen Mond, so they've done it before. Yeah, good point, Jack. He didn't make an impact, but he did join the team. It's really difficult for me to throw some names your way that might get cut. But at positions the Browns may look, barring an injury during training camp, right, where if like a Nick Harris ACL injury were to happen and they want to look to another team's center, I could only see a defensive tackle coming over, right? Or a linebacker. I'll add linebacker. Maybe a linebacker comes over if a team's like, hey, we're paying you a lot. We wanted to give you all of training camp and preseason to show us that you're at least worth 80% of this big contract, but we're going to move on. It's not because you stink. It's because we don't want to pay you $5, $6, $7 million. And then the Browns go, well, we know you don't stink. Maybe you're not worth that much money, but we'll pay you $3 million, and you can be a very good player for us. So watch for linebacker. That might be one spot where a player could come over and be a contributor. Jaden, next up on the show, will the Browns be one of the best teams? I think so. I think the Browns are going to be a playoff team in the AFC, which, I mean, I'm not here for participation trophies, but I kind of wouldn't mind that participation trophy knowing how loaded the AFC is, right? The Bengals, the Chiefs, the Bills, the Ravens are going to be back. The Steelers are never not competitive. The Dolphins, you got the Chargers. Like, you have more than 7 capable playoff teams. So will the Browns be one of the best teams? I think this year is going to be a coming out party for Cleveland. Maybe that means somewhere from 10 to 12 wins. And then 2024 is when they are like the Bills from like 3 seasons ago, where everyone goes, oh shit, the Browns are here. Load them up with prime time. They're going to be a 11 to 13 win team. I think that's a lofty but honestly serious projection for this team if all goes well the next 2 years. Brown Tiger, make a deal with me. If we win the Super Bowl this year, I become the Deshaun Watson of the channel since I've supported him for so. Absolutely. If the Browns win the Super Bowl this year, I'll name my first son the Brown Tiger. That's how far I'll go, dude. So, yes, if the Browns win the Super Bowl, you are. If Shay's still in the chat, she might object to that. We have a notes app list, and that was not one of the names on it. But, yes, Brown Tiger, YouTube handshake. If we are talking and celebrating about a Super Bowl in Vegas in February, you are the Deshaun Watson of this channel. No doubt about it. $2 super from Joshua Miller. Josh, thank you so much. You are the Phil Dawson of the channel. And that kind of leads me to this. Can we talk about Cade York for a moment in honor of Josh Miller's favorite player on this team? He went 5 of 6 in field goal attempts. 5 of them were perfect. 1 was a horrible miss. That's definitely a good step in the right direction. I always kind of wonder during training camp, we get like kicking numbers where it's like, especially when you have a kicking battle. Remember when they had one 2 seasons ago? And it was like Cody Parkey got hurt, and then Chase McLaughlin won the battle. They always just kick like 4 times. Do kickers not just kick 100 times at practice? I guess they only do like 4 or 5 with a full-on field goal unit, 22 players there. And the other times he's just kicking to a, off a tee through the post and whatnot. But why not just get 20 other practice squad guys and just run the field goal unit 100 times, because you know how important field goals are. And these guys who are probably not going to make the roster, why have them waste their time elsewhere? Just help K. York get better kicking kicks. That's what I would do if I was an NFL coach. Make sure to follow along and subscribe if you are not already. We're 2 likes away from 100. Can we at least get to 100 likes before we call it a day on today's show? If you want to keep the show going, Super Chats do keep the lights on. Otherwise, we have to relinquish the studio space. But to everyone that is Super Chatted today, thank you guys so much. Peter, did I miss a follow-up message from your last Super Chat? I don't. I'm looking. I'm scrolling. Oh, all good. No, all good, boss. No worries. I understand completely. Can I get Barnage Butt touchdown icon for my Super Chats from the initial hat Super Chat the other month? Okay. I will do some digging on this because I can't quite do this at the moment, but we will make this happen for you, Peter. We're at 100 likes. That's what I love to see. AFX Apocalypse, you're in the house with the Stetson Bennett call as always. Oh, you love the Stetson Bennett jokes. This is it for today's show. For everyone that took time out of their Thursday afternoon and evening to join us, thank you guys so much. Producer Jack Lauderay behind the camera making everything possible. Shout out to him. We're going to sign off with one last. This does not count. Does not count. Random card.
Well, technically, the live stream will be a video, so it's the end of the video.
No, only VODs. Because I have a whole record tracking system.
Okay.
You want to give me a card? Last one, everyone.
Give me the...
Tim Green's here, the 6 of diamonds. Cool guy's going 7 of diamonds.
7 of spades.
7 of spades. We down for ace of hearts. One last cut. Ace of hearts. 3. Oh, Peter R. saying ace of clubs. Not far, Peter. Queen of clubs.
Ooh.
Queen of clubs. No one got it right by my account of the chat. Okay, well, we will sign off. Thank you guys again. We'll see everyone later. Let's go Browns.